Now, I know a lot of you have seen those side-by-side trailers of Quest 2 games running on Quest 3, boasting really big enhancements. But as I said in my Quest 3 review, some of these games can actually look worse. For example, if a game kind of looked average before, that increase in resolution can make the game's flaws actually stand out even more. And going through all these different side-by-sides and trailers, I decided to actually jump into these games and find out which ones are really looking good inside the headset. For example, I found Aspire 2 and Hubris quite underwhelming in terms of enhancements. But there is some games I'm going to show you today that did genuinely either make my jaw drop or at least make me think, yes, this is a lot better than it was previously. And the first game on this list is Into the Radius. If you haven't played Into the Radius, you really need to check it out. It's one of the best post-apocalyptic survival games in VR. There's tons of mechanics I like, such as eating food from a can with a knife, or having to take care of your weapons by cleaning and oiling them on a workbench to keep them working correctly. There's also a pretty big world with a really good atmosphere, full of crazy things to explore, and beings I can't even begin to explain that want to kill you. But when you go from playing this game on Quest 2 and then jump into Quest 3, it really does look fantastic. The frame rate is so much smoother and the colours pop so much more. The textures look vastly improved and the shadows look incredible. I remember when this game came from PC to Quest and there was a lot of doubters about how the developers could bring such a big game into a mobile headset, but they really did manage it even on Quest 2, and I promise you, playing this game on Quest 3 is a vastly improved experience. Now, one of the best free-to-play games is PopulationOne. If you don't know what it is, it's a battle royale game. I heavily suggest you check it out. It's got an enormous player base on there most of the time. And this was the real surprise out of all the games I tested. This game runs like butter on Quest 3. It is a super smooth frame rate. There's an increase in resolution, draw distance from what I've seen at least. And the increase in detail and sharpness when playing the game makes even aiming down sights a little bit easier. The developers have not stopped with updates for this game. There is tons of content and there's brand new game modes. If there's any game that you want to download today off this list, definitely check this one out first. As I said, it's free and I think it does a great job of showing you what the Quest 3 is capable of, and you'll have a fantastic time online. Now, the next game, Resist, has been out for quite some time. It's a single-player action RPG, which has a fantastic swinging system that really does make you feel like Spider-Man, but with the inclusion of weapons. Literally the size of the city, especially on Quest 3 now, will make your jaw drop. I did not expect this game to look as good as it does now. It's got a pretty cool story, some very cool weapons to upgrade, and takes you up to absolutely massive heights similar to The Climb. The streets look heavily populated with people and traffic, and I simply don't remember that on the Quest 2 version. If anything, this game really does look like the PC version, and for that to be on a standalone is a pretty incredible achievement. Much like Resist, another surprise one for me was Mothership Forge. But there is some crazy weapons that you can grab and you can just build out a massive arsenal on your hands. You can also punch the enemies. But the Quest 3, in terms of enhancements, there's definitely been an increase in resolution, colours, shadows, and everything just pops so much more. And I personally really enjoyed this game back at the day. When it first released, it didn't have freedom of movement. Now you have like a circle that you can move forward and backwards in. As when it first launched, you basically were just stuck in one position. So I definitely suggest, if you haven't thought about it before, checking out Mothership Forge. Now, of all the games on this list, Red Matter 2 stands as the ultimate test of what the Quest 3 visually is capable of. This game is incredibly sharp and it looks fantastic with all the new updates. You can definitely see how much work these guys have put into this update. And due to the lack of launch titles on Quest 3, there just isn't many games that you can pick up your headset and go, this is the reason I bought into this headset. And until we get games like Assassin's Creed and Asgard's Wrath 2, I would definitely consider jumping into Red Matter 2. If you want to show anyone how good the Quest 3 is visually, this is the game to do it. Now, one of my favourite games of all time, not just in VR, is Resident Evil 4. And I think Armature have done a fantastic job of porting the game over to virtual reality. And while this game hasn't necessarily got any Quest 3 enhancements, you can basically make the game better yourself by using ADB commands and enabling the game to run at 120Hz. Be sure to make sure inside the settings of MetaQuest 3 you have 120Hz enabled, but definitely do that just to be sure. And to see this game run at such a high frame rate is superb. Playing Mercenary mode all over again was fantastic fun. I highly recommend this game to anyone who's got a Quest. Now, I featured Dungeons of Eternity earlier this month. I'll link that video here. It's a multiplayer video. It's super fun, and now it's been enhanced on Quest 3. You have to go into the settings to enable the enhancements, but man, is it worth it. This game was already fantastic, and now it looks so much better on Quest 3. Dungeons of Eternity is a hack and slash which you can play co-op or solo. It features randomly generated dungeons with multiple game modes and randomly generated loot for you to get new weapons, and you can customize your avatars. Out of all the multiplayer games at the moment, I definitely think this is the one that has surprised so many people. There's tons of content in this game. I will link my multiplayer gameplay video here, but you'll definitely see the differences as well between Quest 2 and Quest 3 that way. Another game that looks really crisp on Quest 3 while not having any Quest 3 enhancements would be Iron Rebellion. Now, I am a massive fan of mech games, and this game does deliver everything I really enjoy. It's got a really good multiplayer mode. I love the fact you have to actually start up the mechs. The weapons feel good, and one of the best things about this is it actually genuinely feels like you're piloting a mech because you're using the controls inside the cockpit. This is another game I featured a long time ago. I can link that video here, but again, this is another game that runs very, very smooth on Quest 3 and looks so much sharper. So there it is, my list of games with Quest 3 enhancements that I've tested personally inside the headset. Plus, there's some extra ones there like Resident Evil 4 with 120Hz and some other Quest 2 games that simply look and run better because they're on Quest 3. Remember to let everyone know your thoughts down in the comments. If there's any games that you've personally tested and you think they're very good, also put them down in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.